Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, a member of the Pod Bros Podcast Network. Go to podbros.com and find yourself another episode or podcast you want to listen to. And don't forget, check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company, as well as Tape Armor. Look, the new t-shirts are in, the Jiu-Jitsu shirt. It's plain black and just says Jiu-Jitsu shirt on it, and you need it in your life. I'm going to tell you, the guys who have made it for us, it's comfortable. It's not one of those terrible, cotton t-shirts you're going to get if you're going to be a member of your company's softball team or some bullshit like that. These are really good shirts, and I want you guys to kind of embrace that you may not have all the skulls or cool images on your jiu-jitsu shirt, but it just says jiu-jitsu shirt, and you can find that at bjjshow.com under the shop link. And don't forget to like us, give us a good review, or even subscribe to us on iTunes, and hook us up. The more you guys like us, the more stuff we get to do, the more exposure we get, and I get to give you guys cool interviews and do crazy stuff. This episode has Brian Crandell. As you guys well know, that Brian has been working with, or he's the founder of Geese for GIs, which is a phenomenal organization that helps out military members and now oath takers, anybody who gives up public service, to get them gis for free as well as training. So, Brian came on the show and talked about how, he's more official now. He has a 501(c)(3) Charlie, if I remember correctly. That's what the term is, but he's a tax deductible or a nonprofit organization. So I had a great time talking to Brian. Brian's an amazing dude, and I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. And like I said, go to bjjshow.com, find some of the stuff, and don't forget to visit Brian's organization, Geese for GIs, as well.
I got to stay somewhat professional now that we got our 501(c)(3) approval.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to talk about that here in a second. I already hit the record button, so we'll get started here in a few. But you've done a lot of work with that, I know, and well, let's just get into it, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob, and today I've got Mr. Brian Crandell, the man who is the mastermind behind the Geese for GIs organization, doing a great job helping out our veterans and active duty personnel as well as other oath takers to train jiu-jitsu and get on the mat. So how's it going, Brian?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
So we were talking about a little bit before we started the the official introduction. You finally picked up, was it the 501 Charlie? Was that it?
Yes, 501(c)(3. It's the official tax exempt status. We're considered a public charity. So any and all donations are now tax deductible from the donors.
That's awesome. Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully it's going to open us up to a much better, wider donation base. It takes time. Everything takes time, as you're well aware of. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be a 2-week process. But as we build some metrics, as we start building some numbers to get with some corporations on the effects of what we're doing and why they should be putting their money into us, I really think we're going to start taking off. Again, it's going to take time, but it's just a matter of being patient. And heck, after 10 months of waiting to get our 501(c)(3, what's another year waiting before we really start bringing money in? Seriously, I mean, We've sent out 925 gis as of today.
Wow.
I have two. Yeah, I have two going to, I think it's Texas, and I got another one sitting here in a box heading to Fort Rucker.
Oh man, Alabama. Oh
yeah,
I know they're going to appreciate that as well. Something I was always curious about. So I was thinking about this the other day as well, because I know your interview was coming up, and it kind of struck me not only are you just sending gis out, but you're taking them in as well. So I believe that adds a whole nother layer of logistics you have to kind of deal with, as far as not really orders, but hey, all these gis are coming in, I got to figure out who they go to, instead of like a normal gi company where they're just like, oh, this person bought a gi, I have a gi here, let's send it to them? Is that kind of the same process, or is it like a vetting process when people send in gis?
No, it's I'll accept a gi from anybody that wants to give a gi up. I've gotten some gis in that aren't in the best shape, but I still got to appreciate somebody thought about us and donated a gi that they had. But yes, I do have very high standards. When I send out what I consider individual gis,
right, there's
no rubber whatsoever showing in the collar. Very few of them have any tattering in the collar at all. No rips, no tears. It's just I want that person to be as proud wearing it in their academy as I am to send it to them.
No, it's an excellent way to look at it too. Like, I see a lot of pictures of people posting up about the gis they get from you, and it's an amazing program. I've said it multiple times, which is why I'm always glad to have you on the show. Like, I'm very, I don't know, like, I don't think a soft spot in my heart is the best way to say it, but I'm very, like, I love programs that help people out, that give to the community, and that now you're giving back to them as well. So, like, it doesn't matter if it's military or not. I'm a little biased myself, but it's great to see that you're doing it for not just military, but for oath takers as well, right?
Yes, we support anybody that's taken an oath to protect or serve our country. That includes all federal employees. I never realized that every federal employee, whether they're military or not, or police or not, they all take an oath when they get hired, and it's the same oath that you and I took to protect the Constitution, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They actually raise their right hand and they take it. So I got a gentleman now in Ohio. He works for a VA. He actually is sending me a bunch of just stuff that has the support hotline number on it. It's going to be like stress balls. It's going to be a bandana, like a headband. It's key dog tags for your keychain, and it's just got the number on it, the support line. And anybody, they don't even have to be military, can call that number. There is a specific number. I believe they said for military specific, you would press 7, mm-hmm. and that gets you to a military advocate, like a mental health advocate or something like that from the military. The person has been in the military and they specifically deal with military. But anybody, civilians can call, police can call, firemen call, anybody that is considering doing anything that is not normal as far as thinking of hurting somebody else, hurting themselves, doing something of that nature, they can call this crisis hotline and they'll have somebody to talk to. And so I think that's going to be a great thing I want to start putting in every single box that I send out. And we're hoping what that'll do is that'll get their crisis hotline out there to people. And if we can just save one person, if we can just help that one person that may need it, that doesn't know where to turn or is afraid to turn somewhere, but somebody says, hey man, Geese for GI sent us this, and hey, keep this with you if you ever need it. Almost everybody knows at least one person if they've been in the military long enough. They're kind of a little worried about, like, hey man, are you okay? Is everything going good? Is everything all right? So just maybe give it to that person and say, hey, here's the crisis hotline number. You ever have anything you need to talk about? These people are there. They non-judgmental. I just think it's a great thing that's one of the great things that the VA has going for them is that crisis hotline.
No, and I agree, and I think doing something like that also helps reduce the stigma of looking for help for, everybody at a point will get, very stressed out. But, when it comes to the point, like you said, where you feel like you're going to hurt somebody else or hurt yourself, I apologize, I'm repeating myself, that there's a stigma to it, like reaching out for help. Like, oh, bitch, like, why the fuck, like, I'm a bitch, I don't need this help. Like, it's something that has been ingrained, maybe not intentionally, into the military and oath taker community for a long time. And I think stuff like that will help alleviate a lot of that stigma of going and asking for help.
Yes, because I believe that everything's anonymous. I don't believe you have to give your name, your rank, or anything like that. I believe that that everything is anonymous. It just gives you somebody to talk to. And a lot of times that's what these men and women need, is just somebody to talk to, somebody that will listen. And like myself, I go on Facebook and I tell people all the time, I'm available 24/7. My phone number is all over the internet. It's on our webpage. It's on my Facebook page. I am available 24/7, and I will never tell anybody, hey man, I know what you're going through, and you should do this or you should do that, because I don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
But what I can be is I can be an ear. I can be non-judgmental, and I can listen. And if they want any advice at all, I'm 48 years old. I have some life behind me. I think I got a lot more behind me than I have in front of me. With that said, is I can, with some life experiences, kind of maybe give them what I have experienced in life. I don't have PTSD. I never suffered from TBI. I've never suffered from depression. But that doesn't mean that I can't listen and just be there for the people that have. And I would never, ever sit and try to put myself in somebody's shoes when I've never walked a step in their shoes.
Right. And I think that's a big deal, too. Like, a lot of people I know, they're like, oh, you're depressed? Have you tried being happy? Well, it's not that easy. Especially, I was like, that's kind of an asshole thing to say, but, like, I don't know. It's in a weird way. It's, I guess, maybe an attempt to help people out, but at the same time, like, there needs to be a little more awareness of what it really does to people and how it affects them. And, it's not a pretty thing to see. And like what you're doing is offering your services just as a friend to people on Facebook 24/7, no matter what, and helping out with the VA hotline for people. Like, it gives people an outlet instead of doing the usual, well, have you tried not being sad? Well, no shit. If I could, it'd be easier, right? But
yeah, I've tried that. It's overrated, dude. I prefer to be pissed off and down every single day, and just sitting in my living room watching reruns of Three's Company, drinking beer all day. That's what I prefer to do. Being happy is overrated.
Yeah,
I mean, is that what the person's expecting when they say, have you tried being happy?
Yeah. I
don't know anybody that's ever lived that has lived to be depressed or lived to be down. I mean, that to me, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, I'm sure you have, possibly in your deeper dealings with the military people, but have you ever tried being happy? That's kind of funny. It's not really, if somebody would actually use that line, but that is I don't know, that's not something I would ever say to anybody.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not anybody in the military I've experienced. It's like, well, you know what? Have you tried just not being shitty? How about that? Like, it's
Yeah.
at least now it's never been like that. There's definitely been the whole, well, as you well know, like, oh, suck it up, get out there, do your thing. Like, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But, like, after the fact, and they're like, so what's wrong? Why are you all depressed? They're like, well, I'm just, going through a lot. It's like, okay, well, have you tried not being sad? Like, that's never happened. But it has, like, I got friends with, civilians as well, believe it or not, in jiu-jitsu. Not everybody who's my friend is either current or former military, but, like, talking about people dealing with it, like, oh, have you tried not being sad? Like, it is a legitimate thing that people have been told, and it bums me out, but at the same time, like, it's almost like the whole, you go to a funeral, and what the fuck do you say to the person? Like, I'm sorry for your loss. I said it just like the 40 people in front of me just said. It's like, it's an attempt to, like, to try to help, like, because sometimes you don't know what to say. So I kind of look at it as like they don't know what to do. That might be their way of helping, but it doesn't really help.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody says it in, like, a malicious way if they really, truly care about the person.
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, if anybody out there that is listening ever needs a non-judgmental ear, if somebody will, whatever is said stays between me and the phone, unless they're actively telling me, hey, I'm going to go blow my girlfriend's head off and she lives here. But
Yeah.
But as far as anything personal between myself and that person, it would never leave the phone. I just believe in being just believe in being there for people, and that's why I started Geese for GIs, was because people matter, especially people that are willing to put their life on the line and sacrifice so big a portion of their life to serve the country and to protect the country and protect my rights. So that's what means the most to me at this point.
No, and I think it's a very noble cause. There's something to be said. Now, for me, at least on my perspective, I wasn't really super duper into jiu-jitsu when I first joined. I did some before it, tried to get back into it just because it wasn't as available. But being on a military base where it is something that is an available class means a huge difference. So with the hopefully you've gotten, or at least I'm pretty sure you've got a lot of positive feedback from people who have received gis from you. What type of feedback are you receiving from these groups that run programs on base, or, have reached out like, hey, this guy is having maybe a hard time getting a gi. Is there one you could throw our way, or anything like that? Do you get any follow-up stories with the people that you've helped support?
Yeah, actually, I had one gentleman told me that I brought him to tears when I sent him the gi. He didn't believe. He was like, "No way, man! You can't. You're not sending me that gi. You can't send me that gi." It was one of the Shoyo Roll, not a classic, but it was one of their limited runs, the white one. It looks like a military style gi.
Oh, nice.
I forget what it's called, but there was a gentleman. He doesn't want me to mention his name, so I'm not going to. But there's a gentleman up in Maine that I was rolling with, and we got into talking about geese for GIs and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I hear they're doing well, because luckily I got a lot of support up in Maine. And I was like, oh, really? He says, yeah. He said, do you know him? I said, well, I'm a founder. He says, you're the what? I said, I'm a founder. He says, well, man, he goes, I'm telling you, don't leave before you see me after class. So I'm a gym rat. I'm never the first one in, but I'm always the last one out.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there talking to some people and stuff, and making new friends and whatnot that you do when you go to a gym that you've never been to. And I'm talking to some guys, and this guy walks in. He literally took the gi off his back and handed it to me and asked me, can you please make sure that a soldier or a retired Army vet gets this?
Wow.
And it was still sweaty. It was, literally, he went from training to changing to giving me the gi. And it was that Shoyo Roll that you can go on eBay, and some people tell me it can go upwards of $300, $400, $500.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's the guy. He messaged me, and I told him to check our website out, because we do have a requirements page on our website as far as verification. That's huge to be verified. Even if I know, like if you were to tell me, hey man, I got this buddy over here, he needs a gi, this is his name, I have to tell you, can you please have him contact me and just send me his verification?
Right.
That's all I need. And it's just to cover ourselves, because again, once we start getting into grants and corporate donations and things like that, they're going to want to be sure that who we send our gis to are who we're supposed to be sending them to. So that's why everybody has to be verified, even if I know the person. Now, if I see somebody in uniform up at Camp Lejeune and he comes in, he says, hey man, I hear you run a gi program, can I get a gi? I'm not going to tell him, give me your ID, because he's obviously in uniform.
Yeah.
Or if somebody emails me from a .mil account, they're like, hey, what do I got to do to verify? And they got a .mil account. I'm like, you already are. You sent me from a .mil account or a .gov account. I know that at some point you're an oath taker. So anyway, the size was his. He emailed me, and I verified him, and I said, what size do you need? And he told me what size he needed. So I said, man, I got the perfect gi for you. The guy he's a retired soldier. And I said, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. And when I sent it to him, his first words were, you can't send me that gi. It's too expensive. You're not really sending me that gi. So I said, dude, you'll have the gi in 3 days. So I sent it to him. and he sent me a picture, and he emailed me back saying, man, as soon as I opened it up and actually saw that it was the gi that you told me you were going to send, he goes, I literally got tears in my eyes. I actually started crying because I could not believe somebody would really do that. He just could not believe that I got a gi like that, and I sent it out to somebody, sent it out to him. But that's what we do. It doesn't matter. It could be a $300 lucky gi. It could be I've sent out some of the higher-end Origin gis that people have sent in. Mm-hmm. Origin has been a huge, they're such a huge supporter of us. They actually have one of our banners hanging in their new factory.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, and Peter and Dedeco and John Milan, Brian Littlefield, all those guys. I know I'm dropping some names, but I do need to give them a shout-out because they've been there since the inception. They literally were the first people they were the first people I called. They were called before I called my wife and told her I had this idea because I needed to make sure it was feasible. And they literally have been there. They were the first phone call I ever made when I had the idea. So they have honestly been there since the inception, and they back us and they support us. Unbelievable. There's other gi companies out there that have supported us that have been great, but Origin has been there since day one. So yeah, it's anyway. That's the type of feedback. I got another guy real quick. He sent me an email saying that I didn't just send him a piece of cloth. I didn't just send him a gi. He said, you sent me hope and opportunity. He said, you sent me hope because I honestly didn't think people truly cared anymore. He said, I have the hope that people care. He says, and you gave me the opportunity to better my life mentally and physically. And I'm like, man, this is why I do the hard stuff. This is why it was worth the 10 months to get our 501c3. It's just when you get an email or you get a text message or you get something back, somebody's given up hope. And you send them a gi to allow them to start or continue their journey, and they tell you that you sent them hope, and you sent them an opportunity. That makes it all worth it. And it's not just me; it's the thousands of people that support me. Because I couldn't do it without people sending the gis, or without that gentleman handing me a sweaty gi off his back. I maybe couldn't have gotten that guy a gi for 2 or 3 more months because I didn't have it. Well, all the people that are sending me gis, and that's why I've said it before on your show, we are making a difference because without the support of everybody around me and around Gis for GI's foundation as a whole, we have nothing. So the we is all the supporters out there that we appreciate from the bottom of our heart. We truly do.
And the community is tight enough and small enough. That's something I really do enjoy about the jiu-jitsu community is that, we are actually pretty quick to support one another. And when you throw in the camaraderie of the military or any of the other federal services or even, like state services, you get like this really close bond with people. Like, I do truly feel that there are a lot of parallels between serving in the military, the brotherhood you make that way, or at least serving in some facet of community service, and then doing jiu-jitsu with a good group of people. Like, there's a lot of, suffering creates bonds or something like that. Like, if you all suck together, you guys become friends. Like that's kind of, if we all get our ass beat one day on the mats, like, I'm generally closer to my teammates because we all just hate life after class. But, it's kind of similar. Like, if we're all crawling through the mud and, sleeping in foxholes with just ponchos over us, you get closer to them. So I really do feel like there's a lot of parallels in camaraderie between the military and, like, a good, solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school.
Oh, definitely. And that's part of my mission statement. I have actually included that in my mission statement as far as the camaraderie and trust and the fellowship that the jiu-jitsu community brings, because that's exactly what it does. It brings people together. It makes people that want to belong to something bigger than them, which is most oath takers. The reason they take the oath, the reason that they are willing to put themselves in the line of fire and put themselves on the line is because to them, their country, their city, their municipality, firemen run into burning buildings, not because they want the praise, but because saving a life is bigger than them. And the military guys go to war and are willing to lay down their own life because their country is bigger than them. And I have found that in jiu-jitsu, that with the camaraderie and the trust, it really makes that person feel like they belong to something bigger than them. Because the jiu-jitsu community as a whole, like you said, 99.8% of the jiu-jitsu community will have your back regardless of whether they know you or not. If I know you do jiu-jitsu and I see you get into an altercation, I'd be like, hey, dude, what's up, man? How's training going? Just to kind of build that, okay, this guy has my back. And I would hope and I would think that most people would do the same with me if they saw me in a Geese for GI shirt and they knew what it was about, or they saw me in a jiu-jitsu shirt, maybe my academy or another academy, and it just says jiu-jitsu on it, and they see somebody, 2 or 3 people out getting in my face or something, they might walk up and say, hey, man, how's training going, bud? Haven't seen you in a while. What's going on here? Because that's what I would do. I would do that in a heartbeat, because that's the brotherhood and sisterhood that jiu-jitsu brings together. That person at that point is my family, whether I know them or not.
No, that's exactly right. Reaching out, helping each other. That's just kind of what it's about. I mean, and a lot of people, what I think there's kind of like a disconnect in a sense in jiu-jitsu right now. Maybe it's my personal opinion, but no matter what, regardless of the sport, regardless of how many sponsors you throw on your gi, regardless of how many bowls of acai you eat and how many pictures you take on the beach, it's still a martial art. Like, you are a martial artist. And there's a whole bunch of things that go with that. Talk about the tenets of the samurai. We can get real deep into Bushido and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it just means not being a shitty person. It's helping others and giving back to community and helping others who cannot help themselves. That's what I at least see as a martial artist.
Yes, and I agree with you 100%.
Well, that's good. Because, there's always going to be, what's funny is, you hear a lot about, like, some of the traditional martial arts guys talking about prize fighting, how it cheapens their martial art or the martial arts or the Bushido code or all this other stuff. I think there's a place for it. There really is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have competitions. Otherwise, we wouldn't, gladly pay a certain website, maybe on $20 a month to watch all these matches to see who the best is. But when it comes down to, like, taking care of our own and policing our own, like, if you sign up and you wear the gi and you put on a belt, no matter what the color is, you still have a duty to kind of be a representative to the community at large. But
well, certainly, and I got a pretty big network of gyms, and that again was the beginning of Geese for GIs. Was I was thinking, how can I use my network of gyms here in the Southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. I'm from Maryland, so I had several people up in Maryland that I knew, Virginia. So I've had a pretty big network. I've been blessed with, not necessarily blessed with traveling for work, but in those travels, I have made some very, very good relationships. And they pretty much are based on jiu-jitsu. And I knew that I had to do something here in about Mission 22 and what they were doing, and I didn't have the funding or the money to say, hey, here's enough money to make a difference. What can I do to make a difference myself? And that's where the idea of sending gis worldwide came up to. And it's just grown and evolved from there. I've made mistakes. We've learned from them.
Yeah.
We've done some good things, and we've learned from that and continued what we know is good. But anyway, I kind of got myself off track on where I was going with that. It's what happens when you're 48, man. You suffer from CRS.
CRS?
Yeah, I can't remember shit. But
damn, I walked right into that one. I'm sorry.
But man, where was I going with that? About the gyms? Oh, about what I always said was that I'm a reflection of myself, then I'm a reflection of my instructor, and then I'm a reflection of jiu-jitsu itself. So I always put, hey, I need to go out there because this is who I am. This is the person that everybody sees. Then I have to take on the road with me the respect that my instructor has earned as a black belt and my instructor. And then jiu-jitsu as a whole, again, being a martial art, is respect, discipline, dedication, sacrifice. Like you said, you could go through get even deeper with the whole Bushido stuff, but those are the things that I always take with me. And with that big network, I have never been asked to not come back to a gym before. As a matter of fact, I got people out there that I walk into the gym and they, oh man, Brian, it's been a long time. Finally glad you're here, which really makes me feel good. That is probably one of the things that I can be selfish about, is knowing when I walk into a gym that I've been to at least once before, that I do get welcomed back with open arms because of the respect, the discipline, and they know the dedication that I have. So
yeah, and that's
just jiu-jitsu as a whole. That's one of the things as you go up in the belt level. People say, oh, now you're starting to realize what jiu-jitsu is. And just exactly what you just said and what I reiterated was, that is jiu-jitsu. That's not just being a good person, but that is part of being a jiu-jitsu martial artist also.
Absolutely.
A jiu-jitero, I think they call us.
Yeah, I don't think I can ever pronounce it correctly. So I try. I just like, a jiu-jitsu practitioner, so I don't sound like an idiot. Jiu-jitero. Jiu-jitera? Taro.
I think that's a female. Tara is a female, I believe, and jiu-jitero is, I'm like you said, man, I usually say, I'm a jiu-jitsu dude,
Yeah.
or something like that. I'm sitting there trying to, okay, how do I spell jiu-jitero? I know Judokan. That's the easy one, but jiu-jitero, is that even really a word, or is that something that somebody made up to kind of go with the Judokan? I don't know, but it's, yeah, it all means the same. I do jiu-jitsu. That's what matters.
Yeah. I don't have any of these official titles. I do want my students to call me Shidoshi, but for no reason other than because it was in Bloodsport. Because like they don't really call me that. It's just like I don't feel right about being called coach or professor. But I was like, if you guys call me anything, call me Shidoshi, because that's what Jean-Claude Van Damme called his coach in Bloodsport, and it's probably the best martial arts movie ever made.
Yeah, I don't mind coach. People call me coach, and I've been called coach since my daughter was 5 years old playing t-ball. So
nice.
Coach is a good one. I mean, that's. I got kids that are in college. I got one kid now who's playing for Florida State, and one of the first words out of his mouth whenever I get in touch with him is, "Hey, Coach, glad to hear you." It's not Mr. Brian, it's not Mr. Crandell, it's "Hey, Coach." And when you get some kid that's in a D1 college as a defensive end, and then he calls you coach, that really, okay, I made an impact on him as a coach. And that's what a coach does, is they can change people's lives, man. It's just being a coach is a great thing too, and I take a lot of honor when I talk to some of the kids that I coached when they were between 6 and 10 years old, and they still remember me 10 years, 12 years later saying, "Hey, Coach." That is something that I do take pride in, is being called coach.
Well, like you said, you're making a meaningful impact on them, and for coaching still, because you're still doing jiu-jitsu and teaching people jiu-jitsu. Like, how has your teaching and patience kind of evolved from when you first started teaching and coaching to now? Like, what do you notice anything different from when you first started coaching up to this point?
Not really, because when I first started coaching, I was coaching my daughter on a t-ball team, and I guess I can say it's evolved. I don't get as mad at referees or umpires anymore. I actually look back now and I'm like, man, I was a jerk. I didn't really give them the benefit of the doubt, and I always use the excuse, well, they're getting paid, they should be better than that. But that guy that's coaching, or that guy that is umpiring or refereeing a kid's game, he's getting $40, $20 from each team, but he's still just an everyday guy that has a job, that comes out and volunteers a paid volunteer, I guess you could say, but he's
Yeah.
still coming out so that the kids have a game to play. And I really wish I could look back now and say, mistakes are made. Let's learn from his mistake, not to let that happen again. Which that's what jiu-jitsu has really taught me, is there is no losing, it's learning. And but other than that, my coaching style I don't think has really changed a whole lot, because when you're coaching 5, 6-year-old kids, and like I said, my daughter started in regular t-ball, so it was both boys and girls playing. And then when she turned 7 or 8, she went to softball,
Right.
and I was still a coach. And then my son came along, and at 5, 6 years old, I was coaching his t-ball and my daughter's softball, because luckily they were on alternate days. And at the same time, I was still trying to play softball back then. But I've always been a coach. I've always been a disciplinarian with it, but it's the coaching style. Me being a coach I don't know if it's really changed a whole lot, my style, other than I am more patient with mistakes, and I am more patient with like if going to a tournament or something, a referee makes a bad decision, instead of sitting there screaming and yelling at him, because he's not going to change it. Just say, hey, man, you know what? We need to learn from that. Just kind of like Dana White says, you think the judgment was bad from the judges? Don't leave it in the judges' hands.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the mentality as far as growing. I've grown into realizing that they are humans also. And it just, in the grand scheme of things, their mistake, it's not really life affecting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Now, in MMA, a referee's decision to not stop a fight in time or whatever, that could be life-threatening or life-changing.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say that affects people as in like serious injury at that point.
Yes, but just as far as just regular referees or umpires or coaches and referees, umpires, or whatever, I just learned I'd rather learn from their mistake if they made it, and not put myself in that situation to allow them to make the mistake again.
Right. And I think, it's a good outlook, like that's what I was trying to explain to my students as well, it's a tournament. I'm not going to kick you out of the gym. Like if you win or lose, that is, I mean.
Yeah, unless you lose 2 in a row, then you're gone.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I'm sorry. I cannot put up with somebody who can't at least win one match. It's. Hey, look, I know you're 8 years old, but you got to really suck it up. And I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So, Brian, before we head out for the night, can we get some shout outs, where people can find you, where they can even donate to the cause? Because let's face it, it's a great cause. Like, just tell us everything of where we can find you.
www.gis-4-gis.com. That's a web page that I currently have up. It's one of those Wix web pages, and you can tell it's a Wix web page. We are in the middle right now of revamping to a more professional web page, and that will actually be www.gis4gis.org.
Okay.
I'm going to make an announcement on our Facebook, our foundation page, when that launches permanently. Just got a few bugs to work out and a few things that we're going to try to add or try to take away. If anybody wants to be a Geese for GI's advocate gym, we are doing an advocacy program. So if anybody wants to hold events, if they want to raise some money or do a gi drive at their school, we're more than happy to have them as advocates of our program. So they can contact me through email, GIS, the number 4, GIS at charter, CHARTER.net. We can be found on Instagram at Geese for GIs. That's GIS, the number 4 GIS, and of course the @ symbol before. On Facebook, it's GIS space 4 space GIS Foundation. And that's pretty much it. I do regularly check the messages for when people message us through that. As far as some shout-outs, of course, Origin, again, has been a huge supporter. They're actually in the middle now of finishing up on 2 platoons of SEAL Team 3, some custom-made gis that we're getting from them for those SEALs. CTRL Industries out of Arizona, they are finishing up on a design for SEAL Team 3 golf platoon. We are still we were hoping we had game this, and I haven't heard anything, so we may or may not have them to do another SEAL Team platoon. We're kind of shopping from SEAL Team 3 Charlie, which actually used to be Jocko Willink's his platoon.
Really?
I believe I think he was commander of SEAL Team 3 Charlie when he was in Fallujah. I believe that was, I can't be quoted on that, but I'm pretty positive that was his platoon he was commander of. But they have reached out to us and asked if we could supply them with some gis. So we're kind of shopping to see if there's a company out there that would be willing to make some custom gis for probably between 20 and 25 SEALs. Again, even the gis, if a company is out there and wants to do it, that will be a tax deduction because they are actually going through gis for GIs, so that would be a donation to us, and then we would in turn give the gis to the SEALs. Trying to think who else. Of course, it's always Kurt Osiander. Kurt has always been a big supporter. He's got one of our banners hanging in his gym. I actually, back in June, had the pleasure of hanging out with him and staying the night at his house, and it was pretty cool. It was actually a lot of fun. Kurt's a great guy. He's bigger than life on YouTube, bigger than life in jiu-jitsu, but he's just a awesome person. Him and his wife, Michelle, they just opened their doors to me, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, they're fucking great people. I love them to death.
I do have to thank John Salter. I don't know if you know who John is. He's second in the world right now in Bellator in the middleweight division. If you can watch from the beginning, if you watch his fight against Kendall Grove, he actually had the Gis for GI's logo put on his banner for us.
Nice.
Yeah, that was super cool. So if anybody wants to go back and look, if anybody wants to watch John put Kendall to sleep with a rear naked choke, just kind of go all the way back to the beginning and do the announcements, and you'll see the banner hanging over with both of our Gis for GI's logos on either side. So John Salter, and he is my coach now too. So that's fantastic too, to have somebody that's won the West Coast trials against some of the people he beat. He went out, unfortunately got armbarred by Zandi at the finals in Finland in the first round, but again, he did go up against Zandi. So
yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the probably toughest people you could have pulled in that tournament.
Especially the first round.
Yeah.
He wasn't even warmed. but no, I mean, so yeah, that's my coach, so I got to give him a shout out. If anybody's ever in Wilmington, they want to come and train with us, PCSP, Port City Sports Performance. Look it up, come on in, train with us, and we're always willing to accept everybody to come on in the doors and train.
Yeah, I'll definitely, next time I'm in town, I'll definitely make a point to come down there. I was a little tied up last time.
Yeah, no worries. We are doing a all-female instructor seminar. It's going to be 4 female instructors. If we can get 4 black belt females, that would be fantastic. If not, it'll be a mixture of brown belt and black belt female instructors. It's not an all-female seminar, but the 4 instructors will be females. January 6th at Swamp Fox Jiu-Jitsu in Florence, South Carolina.
Awesome.
So, and anybody in North Carolina, South Carolina area that knows Brian Edwards, he's the owner of Fox Swamp, and he has been a huge supporter of Gis for GIs also.
So you got a lot going on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then hopefully sometime next year we'll be doing an event in Boston. I'm looking at doing another event here in North Carolina. That's what we need the advocates for. We need some advocates, Midwest, Western, that's willing to put on an event, and all the proceeds go into Geese for GIs, because 100% of our proceeds goes back to the oath takers. And our goal is to eventually be able to purchase new geese to send out to all the oath takers. The other thing also, one more thing, I know you need to go, but
no, man, we're on your time, buddy.
We do support dependents. So if you have a son, you have a daughter, you have a wife, or you have a husband that wants to start training with you or wants to start training, and they are your dependent, they either have a dependent ID card or can match up the names somehow. We're still kind of working on that, but usually it's, hey, if my son would like to train too, I'm not going to ask, send me his ID. Well, I've already verified you're an oath taker, so I'm going to trust that it's your son or your daughter. So yes, we do support dependents also, because to me, a dependent as a form of service to the service member. It's got to be a tough life having your husband or your wife go away for 6 to 9 months, and you have 1 or 2 kids or 3 kids, whatever it is, and you got to play mom and dad both and get everything done around the house, job, and in the back of your mind is what's going on with your spouse, and that's got to be a tough job too. So I consider that a sense of service also. So we do support dependents.
That is good as well. Like you said, yeah, you're stuck at home with no outlet. Hey, get some jiu-jitsu in and make life a little easier on you, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully it'll make that, as they're deployed, hopefully it'll make that time go a little bit quicker, because I know when I sent some geese to Kuwait, I got a bunch of feedback from those guys saying, man, you made our deployment. Just by having geese that we could get out of our uniforms, it really made the deployment go by a lot faster.
Excellent.
So hopefully on the home front, if you, even if they're not deployed, but that could be a scenario too. If your wife or your son, or your wife and your daughter, or your husband and son or husband and daughter decide to start jiu-jitsu, maybe that'll help with that anxiety and stuff with the deployment, and it may seem to go by a little bit faster until they get reunited. So, but yeah, that was the other thing I did want to let everybody know. We do support dependents. So overall, as you said, and I do believe, not just because it's my idea, and we as a community have come together and really supported it, but I just think we are doing such a great thing to make a difference in people's lives, and I hope enough people believe in us. We are going to have a donate button. I'm in the middle now. I had to send in my paperwork to Facebook. You have to be a registered 501c3 before they'll put a donate button on your Facebook page.
Right.
So we've already passed 2 of the 3 requirements. The third one is proving that we're a 501c3, which I sent in my approval paperwork to them. So once they get that and process that, we will have a donate button. People don't realize how far $5 can go. $5, $10, whatever you can do would be fantastic, especially if you could do that recurring, $5 on the 15th of every month, $5 on the 1st of every month, or whenever you can do it. That would help us out tremendously toward our goal of purchasing geese for the oath takers. Eventually what we want to purchase brand new geese and brand new geese out to the oath takers, and then we will still have a very high standard for our donated geese to us, the used geese and such, and that's what we will be able to provide to the, like your school, like you over there with on base. If you called up and said, hey man, I need like 6 or 8 geese, can you send them over? Well, yeah, I'm going to send you over. If it's for individual oath takers, I'll send them a brand new gi. If it's for your school to use as a loaner gi, so that when somebody comes in, maybe it's somebody coming in TDY and they're only going to be there 2 weeks. So here you go. Here's a loaner gi. So that's what the donated gis will eventually go to. But we will still be 100%. We will still be asking people to donate their gis, because I think reaching out to gyms like that so that they do have loaner gis for the oath takers that come through, I think that would be a fantastic service also.
No, that would be amazing as well. All of us really do appreciate what you're doing, and you've done us tremendous service, and man, you're already growing, and it's something that I foresee getting even bigger at this point as well.
That's the hope. That I really didn't know what to say, because that's, of course, that's always the hope, but the reality is, I think with the support of so many people, there's no room for failure. We can't allow. I will not allow it to fail whatsoever. I will always be doing this, whether it's through corporate funding or not. Again, I think the best form of funding is for people to say, "Hey, we believe in this enough to put $5 a month or put $5 into it," because that will go a long way.
Yep, and hopefully our listeners will help out with that as well at some point. I really do. And so, Brian, I really do appreciate you coming on the show today, man. I know it's sometimes difficult to get a little bit of free time, especially when getting close to the weekend. But thanks again for coming on and talking to us how things have progressed, and like you said, just the beginning. It's only going to get bigger from here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And believe me, times I got plenty of that, because I've been married almost 26 years, so I got plenty of time to do things like this now.
That's awesome.
But no, it's I'll take as much time as you ever need, Rob. If you call me up and say, "Hey, man, I want to talk to you about this. What's going on? What's been going on over the last few months?" I will always take time for you, because you've been such a huge supporter. I believe this is the third interview, the third podcast we've done, and you have always been a huge supporter. And it's guys like you that are out there wearing the uniform that say, "Hey, we support you," that really makes me know that what we're doing is the right thing. And that makes all the difference in the world also, is having the support of the people that we're claiming to support, that we are supporting. So that really hits the feelers a little bit too, knowing your position, and you say what you're doing is a great thing. I don't take that lightly.
Well, like I said, I appreciate that as well. And Brian, you're always welcome on the show, man, and I love having you on the show, and we'll do it again soon, like we usually do, right?
Yes, sir, man. I'm just surprised there's no more Jurgen questions.
Yeah, that.
I'm teasing.
Nah, I hear you, man. That was cool for a bit, but you know what? It's cooler to talk about jiu-jitsu than take up 15 minutes asking random questions. So it was a good attempt, and I will never forget that. And I was like, well, shit, he was technically correct, but all right.
And I don't know if I'll ever let you live that one down, brother. But anyway, man, it's always a pleasure. I can't thank you enough for giving me this outlet for Geese for GIs. As a foundation, we are appreciative of anything that anybody does for us. So what you're doing with this, and I know you're a big proponent of ours. I know you go on Facebook and talk good about us. We can't thank you enough. I don't know if there's words to thank you for what you do for us, and there's no words to thank you for your sacrifice and your service to our country.
Thanks, Brian. I really do appreciate that, and it means a lot. And it's what we do, right?
Yes, sir.
It's what we do. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to another episode of the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, a member of the Podbros Podcast Network. Go to podbros.com and find yourself another episode you want to listen to, or another podcast you'd like to listen to. And don't forget to find all of our old episodes at bjjshow.com. I'm Rob, and we'll catch you guys next time.